I think we all have some opinions that maybe not everyone agrees with, but we still hold near and dear to our heart. And today we're going to read through some of them on r/unpopular opinion. If it's cold outside and everyone is wearing winter clothes, places should be heated, just enough to be comfortable in warm clothes, not for shorts and t-shirts. If it's 2 degrees outside and everyone is wearing coats, sweaters, why is everyone heating it to like 20 degrees? The public transportation, stores, my university lecture hall, I dress appropriately for the weather outside, walk through the door of my uni, and feel like I'm assaulted by a summer day. Even after getting out of my coat, my sweater is still too warm. And same when entering the grocery store or stepping into the bus. Why is everything heated so much? Everyone is wearing winter clothes and uncomfortable, and heating less would save a lot of money. I don't exactly disagree. I mean, like, if everyone's wearing like jackets and hoodies and all this other stuff, it's kind of annoying to like take off all those layers of, say, you went to a restaurant, or even if you just want to go to the grocery store and you needed that jacket because it's snowing outside, but when you walk inside it's like you can't wear any of it. But at the same time, like, I don't know what the sweet spot is, and maybe it's why we don't do it, but there's probably a sweet spot there that, like, especially if you're going to eat something, you definitely want to take that coat off. And you also don't want to go through the grocery store at like -2 degrees or something, still wearing your massive coat. So, I think like maybe like a hoodie is like a middle ground, if we can figure that out. Food/cooking classes should be mandatory for all in school. Cooking is a very important part of life. You don't have to be the second coming of Gordon Ramsay, but everyone should know how to cook the basics. The amount of 16 to 25-year-olds I know who can't cook an egg or boil pasta is astounding. For at least 2 years of school, cooking/home economics should be mandatory. When you move out and live alone, knowing how to cook is an incredibly valuable skill because you have to feed yourself. Might as well make it an enjoyable experience. And it's cheaper and usually healthier to cook than to order takeout every night. Everyone should know how to season a pan, cook an egg, pasta, bacon, oats, etc., etc. They should also learn basic food safety, what goes where, how to store XYZ. By learning the basics, you will also gain an instinct for what flavors go well. What can I substitute X with? You'll learn how to wing it pretty easily. These are basics that will make your life easier in general. It's crazy how many of my friends, aged 18 to 25, are blown away by me cooking a basic steak or a pasta dish. It should be standard practice for people to know how to cook. I definitely agree with this. It's something that, like, I don't think I was specifically taught. We did have a couple cooking classes in like primary school, which, when I was like 10 or something. But it's something that I used to eat a lot of home cooking when I was a kid, and so now that I'm older and I buy my own groceries, I do like look up recipes online, and I do try to cook a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I'm still as fallible as everyone, and I still, reach for freezer food or eat some takeout. But I do try to cook, especially more at the moment. But I also don't. I think like it could be definitely a valuable skill to have inside of schools so that everyone gets that basic learning. It might even help with like the obesity epidemic that's going around, because I think one of the things for me was always thinking that cooking was going to take 2 hours or something. Whereas you can cook an omelet in like 5 minutes, and that's a really easy breakfast that's super quick and also really filling. The incurious nature of the general adult mass movie-going audience and fanboy nerd culture are the main reasons why sequels and remakes are at the top of the modern-day box office. If Wicked didn't come out this year, the top 10 films at the box office this year would have been all sequels. This would be the first time in history that would have happened. Original adult films like The Brigadiers, Conclave, Anora, and even Challengers have been largely ignored by the everyday person, instead for reheated sequels and remakes. Original films are still being made, and smaller sections of film enthusiasts are supporting them. However, the typical person has next zero interest in going out to the cinema to see them. Apart from Nolan and Tarantino, the average modern movie-going person barely cares about who directed a film. They care more about if the film is a direct sequel or prequel to something that has already existed. It doesn't matter one bit to general audiences that next year we're getting wholly original new films from Paul Thomas Anderson, There Will Be Blood, Wes Anderson, Grand Budapest Hotel, Lanthimos, Poor Things, Joss Safdie, Uncut Gems, Ryan Coogler, Creed, and Bong Joon-ho, Parasite. Fandango, the US's leading online movie ticketing service, has surveyed more than 9,000 ticket buyers to find out which movies they are most excited to see next year, and the list is absolutely depressing. Captain America, Mission Impossible, Jurassic World, Ballerina, Fantastic Four, Avatar, Wicked 2, The Accountant 2, Superman, and 28 Years Later. Not a single original film on the list. All of these are either remakes, reboots, spin-offs, or sequels. I think there's a lot of factors to it. Movies are really expensive nowadays, and so people want to use IP that works well. You know, like Captain America sells, so they're gonna make another Captain America. But also at the same time, for audiences, they can kind of get an understanding of what the movie's gonna be. And with rising movie ticket prices, people want to know that the movie's gonna be good before they go in. They don't really want to risk seeing a bad movie. I think it's like a stalemate between the two sides. That if people made really well new content, people would go and see it. But also, like, this side isn't exactly demanding the new content because they still go and see the sequels and they make the sequels popular, even if sometimes they're not very good. I think it's also a situation of companies reheating the dinner of IP so much when, like, there's no more story to be told, but they just keep trying to push something out. I think sequels are completely all good, should even be asked for if the content deserves it and if there is a story to tell. The typical modern wedding is awful. I'm sorry, everyone, but they are. I just went to one this weekend that I'm sure cost quite a bit. It was very much like many others I've been to, and it frankly sucked. Location that had no meaning to the couple, but looked nice in photos. Food that I'm sure they spent a ton on, but was mediocre, including silly things like make your own sundae bar. Guest entertainment photo booth, and really no one used it. Wedding band played covers of songs somewhat competently most of the time, but no one really dancing until late when they were super drunk. 150 people. Photos that I am 1000% sure will look like all other photos of every single wedding I've ever seen in the last 10 years. It was all a show for social media posts. I would have gladly declined attending had it not been a family member. Save your money, go to the courthouse, or just have something tiny. Put a down payment on a house instead. Take a wonderful vacation. You don't need this. I understand their general sentiment. The particular thing they're using kind of just sounds like a guest list that sucked. A make your own Sunday bar, a band with space to dance. That's kind of on them that they didn't take advantage of that. I think a lot of people probably would have. But I get the general sentiment of, like, impersonal weddings and things that don't really, like, doing it just for the clout or the clicks rather than actually doing it because you really enjoy it or it's something that really looks nice to you, and spending the money just because it will look nice and not because it's something really meaningful to you. I think something that I've always thought is that I would rather do something small and personal and then spend that massive amount of money going traveling for 6 months. If you really had that, like, 20-50 grand that some people spend on weddings, I'm taking a 6-month vacation. I'm not spending that on one day. You can complain about the cost of living and still spend money on trips and other experiences. I think it's ridiculous how many people think that just because someone goes to a concert or beach vacation, that they're banned from complaining about groceries or housing. We shouldn't have to sacrifice joy and happy memories with friends and family just because the world is expensive. I'm a broke college student, but I'm still going on a ski trip with my friends. I will be complaining about the cost of living because it was ridiculous. I think it's completely understandable. You know, the world is expensive. And for a lot of people, it could be possible to, like, do absolutely nothing fun in your life, keep your head down for like 7-10 years or something, and then have enough money to enjoy life. But then, like, it kind of comes along with the side of, like, what are you gonna have at the end of that 7 to 10 years if you didn't do anything? If you didn't go out with friends to the bar one time, or you didn't just go to a friend's house and, like, order a pizza that one time. If you lose everything, what do you even have when you come out at the end of it? Like, you have no more friends because you spent the last 7 to 10 years ducking them just so you could make some money, so that at the end of it you could have nothing. But I do think that, like, there is also the other side of taking too many vacations. Like, I mean, I take vacations sometimes, but my vacations tended to be pretty inexpensive. They were things where I could pretty easily calculate the cost, and most of my trips were to specific people, so I saved on, like, cost of stay because I could most often stay with them. But spending excessively, like, 24/7 and then complaining that the world is expensive is on you. But that's not to say that the world isn't expensive. It is. But there are ways to still spend a little bit less money with every purchase. But yeah, like, if you forfeit all of your fun, eventually when you have the money for fun, who are you going to have the fun with? Kiwis should be eaten with the skin on. Every time I tell somebody I eat kiwis, the fruit, with the skin on, I get weird looks. It basically tastes the same. There's just a slight but barely noticeable difference in taste. The skin itself is not even as hairy in your mouth as you might think. Also, it's just less messy. If the kiwi is more ripe, you bite into it like an apple. Even if the kiwis are a bit less ripe, it's still a bit of crunchy, as if you would bite into an apple. Before you tell me it's disgusting, go ahead and try it first. You might like it. If you're gonna eat me, I hope you do it with my skin on. Obvious New Zealand joke there. But the kiwi, the fruit, I do eat it with the skin on. Obviously, I don't eat that like little end bit where I assume like the stem is, because that's like hard and no need to eat that. But like eating it like an apple, I do it. Mainly because I never wanted to take like I don't know if every other country had the kiwi fruit spoon that we used to have, which has like a knife on one side and a spoon on the other. It's like a spork, but with like a knife. It's a kiwi fruit spoon, whatever. But, I just couldn't be bothered with all the mess of it, so I would just eat it like an apple. So I agree with this, but I know a lot of people, even back in New Zealand, who did not agree with me. Bread isn't that good. I'll never understand how people get all lustful whenever some dinner rolls or rustic bread or whatever is presented with a meal, or just on its own. To me, it's just filler that doesn't add hardly anything in terms of flavor, tastiness, or nutrition. It contributes very little, if not takes away from having a healthy, balanced diet. Additionally, by filling up on bread before a meal you've made or purchased, and as such, benefit from its own nutrients. I could go on. I think this is definitely an unpopular opinion. I am someone that just buys a bread roll. I don't know, I think if nothing else, then it's just the fact that bread's been around for so long, we're just accustomed to bread. There are way more complex tastes out there, some you might even consider nicer, but I mean the fluffy and the crust of a bread, I don't know, it's maybe it's unexplainable, but it's really good. And so I think everyone holds my opinion. I think this guy has the unpopular opinion. Reasons are wrong. Letting go is truly the greatest act of self-love. There is a quote that says, "If you love them, let them go." And while that's true, I believe the same can be said for oneself. There's no point in grieving over a relationship that did not work out the way you wanted it to. It's better to let go of the thought of the person and move on. Because let's face it, that individual has most likely moved on with their life. Letting go of what could have been shows maturity and self-love, as well as saving you some time of sadness. I've kind of held this opinion as well of like, there's not too much point holding on to something that didn't work out because it didn't work out. Realistically, all you're left with are doing things, You really want it, and so you go back and try and work on it again, or you should move forward. I'm not suggesting going back into toxic relationships. I just mean if you broke up and you realize that, oh, holy crap, that was the person that I really loved, I should be with that person, then just moving on maybe isn't the right decision. But if you then talk to them and they say that they're going, then it is the right move to head off. Sayings like this, I think people don't understand that just because you follow this and you have a breakup, doesn't mean you can just instantly move on. It doesn't mean that they're just like, hey, I know it's been a long 3 years, but I think it's time for us to part ways. And you just go, alright, sweet. If you act like that, you probably weren't in it, or weren't in it fully. It still hurts. It can still take a bit of getting over, but it just helps to know that like you're gonna move forward from this and you're gonna move on to other and or better things. People look inwards too much when thinking about struggles in their social life. I think people often try to figure out what's wrong with themselves when they struggle to find friends or romantic partners, thinking they're too awkward, boring, or not good looking enough, when they're perfectly fine, just hanging in the wrong groups / not putting themselves out there enough. When you're around people who match your interests, intellect, etc., you often find how easy it is to socialize and start a conversation with somebody, and oftentimes those are even people you would have thought are out of your league. But too many people give up and lose confidence because they haven't found them yet. I think there's a lot of challenges in the social life, but they hit on the right point where, like, say you can't find a girlfriend or you can't find friends. Maybe you're looking at what some movie or some TV show has told you should be looking for in friends, rather than like, what do you really like? Maybe you spend your time at home playing a certain video game, or maybe you read certain books or something, and maybe you should look online for groups like that, or maybe there's like different groups that you can go to. Maybe you play sports, so you should go join the sports group and you'll find people who have a similar interest in that. And then maybe not everyone in there will be the right person or be a good friend to you, but within that, you'll find people who have the same interests as you. If you want to try new experiences and that's something you do, then like go to pottery classes or go to other things. And you'll probably find people who aren't just doing pottery, but are like you trying to do new experiences. I think it sometimes can be hard to figure out what you really want to do, and it can still be hard to put yourself out there. But the only other thing is, if you give up, you'll most likely never find anything. So you just have to keep going and understand that it's not exactly a personal rejection. Unless it is, sometimes really people spell it out. And maybe there is stuff to work on. But for most people, they are just regular fine people. They just don't have the right people around them. Alright, I think that's enough unpopular opinions for today. Like the video, subscribe, we'll see you in another one. Peace.